The Bone Garden is really one of my favorites. Absolutely. It was, he gave me a choice of what part I wanted to play. And I said, I want to play the policeman again.
Quisiera empezar a hablar sobre una historia muy de sus inicios, entretenida, y en el cual está en algunas partes de Dailymotion, Vimeo, se pueden juntar, que se llama, bueno, es sobre la luna llena, sobre todo este tema de hombre lobo. Quisiera preguntarle qué recuerdas de ese proyecto.
Okay, Ron, going back in your early beginnings, what are your memories of Case of the Full Moon Murders? This is a movie that somehow you can find it on some webs, like Scattered. But anything that you tell us about this project, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, very early.
oh my God. The first question, right?
Yes.
That's the first question.
Well, that is the film that actually I worked with Sean Cunningham for the first time. Okay. And it was just, knowing somebody who knew somebody, and it actually is a very funny film. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, and all I remember is that we had a good time down there in Florida, and it never surfaced until Friday the 13th. After Friday the 13th, somebody put it on my IMDb page, and I don't care, but a lot of people like it. What did you think of it?
I will ask John. John, ¿qué piensas de esa película?
Pues pienso que Sean en ese entonces era muy, muy diferente a lo que está pasando el cine de la hora, y pues lo importante de él es que es algo en particular, porque sé que en todas sus historias, en todo lo que ha hecho, creo que ha cambiado un poco el tema como de cómo vemos el terror en las épocas, creo yo, y creo que esa es como la más pura de él.
Hablas del director, ¿cierto?
Ajá, sí, claro.
Okay, this is a beautiful answer from John. He told me that talking about the full work of Sean, this is like the most pure movie, pure in the way of we can see the changes of every product of every movie that he has made. So this being one of the first one, or being the first one, is like the most pure, like the most raw, the most like the first draft that an author does. I don't know if John answered it right.
Yeah. Now, what film are you referring to? Tell me which film.
No, the one that we were talking about. You asked John what does he think about Case of the Full Moon Murders.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I don't know what else I can tell you about it. It was we had a good time. It was down there in Florida, and in somewhere near Fort Lauderdale, and I was quite young, and I'm glad it happened in as much as I got to be in Friday the 13th. If I didn't do Case of the Full Moon Murders, I wouldn't have gotten Friday the 13th. So I made a connection with Sean Cunningham. And then I was the last one, I think, to be hired. I called Sean. It was a rainy day. And I said, Sean, I hear you're doing a movie called Friday the 13th. Is there anything for me in it? And he said, well, it was raining, so he happened to be home that day. He said, no, Ron, nothing really. He said, wait a minute, Ron. Wait a minute. Yeah, there's a part that you could do. I'm going to overnight the sides. This is before we had the internet, and why don't you come on up to the camp? So I did. I looked over the part, and I had some of it memorized, and I went up there. Now they had already gotten their parts: Kevin Bacon and Janine and Harry Crosby and Adrian King. They had already gotten their parts, and they were already on the set. So I auditioned then, and I got the part, and then I just worked 2 days a week later, and we didn't know it was going to be such a blockbuster hit. No one knew that.
And we are happy because you're the second person from that movie here on the channel. We got one of the first interviews we made was Ari Ledman.
Yes.
Yeah. And we decide that I will translate later so we can let you talk, but I will tell that to John. If you don't appear on Case of the Full Moon Murders, you probably won't appear on Friday the 13th. Case of the Full Moon Murders, you probably won't have appear on Friday the 13th. So it's a very important step. John, si él no hubiera hecho esa película, no hubiera aparecido en Viernes 13. Solo te lo digo. Por eso es que es
Ven,
importante.
y
Dile.
también en Viernes 13, tú le dijiste ese buen dato de Ari, pero también ¿qué es lo más significativo que pudiste haber experimentado una anécdota siendo el oficial?
Okay, now that you mentioned, of course, Friday the 13th, you can mention us or tell us any anecdote that you got being the officer, anything that you wanna share us about this movie. I know that you had talked a lot about this movie in other interviews, but anything you wanna tell about being part of this movie, go ahead.
I remember when we had the first screening, everybody was there. No one had seen the film yet. And Betsy Palmer, Mrs. Voorhees, Pamela Voorhees, and all of them, Kevin Bacon, they were all there. And we were seeing it for the first time. And when it got to my part, nobody laughed. And I said, "Oh my gosh, what is going on here?" They didn't think it was funny. I thought it was pretty funny, but everybody was so concentrated on themselves that. But then I saw it about a month later with my wife at the time and another couple, and there was a lot of laughter. So that pleased me. But at the first screening, everybody's looking at their own work, and there was no laughter. And it was, I remember Betsy Palmer coming up to me and saying, "Ron, was I good?" "Yeah, you're wonderful." And, but that first screening that nobody had seen it yet. And I remember I jumped out of my seat at the very end when Jason comes out of the water and pulls Alice down into the lake in their dream. That scared everybody. We all jumped out of our seats, and I think that moment really made the movie.
Wow.
In fact, I remember that moment was on the list of the AFI of the most scary moments seen in the history of cinema. So yeah, I got a really great impact. I will tell that part to John. John, cuando hicieron el primer screening, nadie se rió de la parte de él y él pensó que todo había quedado mal. Es que la gente estaba concentradísima. I'm happy that this question is from myself. I'm happy because I was keeping a video, okay, I will tell John to share it, about the most important or the most scariest exorcist movies, and one of the movies that appear is Torture Chamber. So I'm happy because finally with this interview I can show that video, and yes, tell us being part of one of the most interesting exorcist movies that is Torture Chamber. What can you tell us about this movie, about this particular project? It's been showcasing a lot of forums, like, oh my, you should check out that movie about exorcism. So anything you want to share about Torture Chamber?
Torture Chamber. Oh, yeah. Did you see it? Did you like it?
Yes, and it's one, I will tell that to John. There is a list of the most scary and important exorcist movies, and we got, look, we got people from, of course, from The Exorcist, Alien Deeds. We got people from The Possession of Michael King, Stewart Skelton. We got people from Dominion, the editor. But now, finally, we got somebody for Torture Chamber. So please,
Really? Yeah.
please.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that because it was a movie that really it didn't get off a good start, but now it's getting a following. It's getting a big following, and it was actually on Netflix here in the States. And I worked with one of my favorite directors, Dante Tomaselli. He directed that, and it's amazing that I'm glad you said that because it's starting to get a following now, like Friday the 13th. Maybe not as big, but people are it's beginning to get a cult following. Yes, and then I did another one before with Dante Tomaselli called Salem's Lot. Did you happen to see that?
And I will ask if John got a question about it. John, ¿tienes una pregunta sobre Silence Lot? Go ahead. Tell everything about Silence Lot. I was asking to John. He got a question, so he said that tell whatever you want about that other project with Dante. To tell anything about this project because it's great. You work in Torture Chamber and then in Silence Lot with Dante.
Salem's Lot. Okay, that was a very good movie. I actually liked it better than Torture Chamber. And it was about, here in the States, we have a myth about the Jersey Devil. Now, the Jersey Devil was a mythical character, although people claim that they've seen the Jersey Devil. It's a mythical character of this sort of a Bigfoot monster that's roaming around the Pines area of New Jersey. And it was about that character, the Jersey Devil. In fact, there's a hockey team called the Jersey Devils. So if you live in New Jersey, you know about the Jersey Devil. It was like a myth about like Bigfoot, you know, sort of this monster. People claim, oh, I saw the Jersey Devil on the highway. Yeah. And, you know, but it was really a fun film to make, except for one thing. And I am not exaggerating when I say we were filming in one of the coldest nights I have ever experienced here in the East Coast. It was at night. We were like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. All I had on was a flimsy cop uniform, and it was 17 degrees below zero. That was awful. We were freezing. But then the crew and Dante, they had a little fire going, you know, in a trash can, and we would do our scenes and then go back into the house. But the crew, they deserved a medal for staying out in freezing cold. And I got another interesting story. I had a scene where I'm murdered by the Jersey Devil. And so they put my hand on top of the the police car, the cruiser. And you see me go down, my hand drops on the top of the car. And after they said cut, my hand was stuck. My skin was attached to the car. I could not get it off. This was awful. So they came with Free Zone and they sprayed the Free Zone. And when I lifted my hand up, all the skin was gone. The skin was on the car. That's how cold it was. Yeah, it was. You know, you guys must know. You're filmmakers. Are you filmmakers too?
Yes, indie
Yes.
filmmakers here from Colombia.
Yeah. So you know the things that can happen on a set, you know, you're shooting, and I'll never forget that. But the movie itself, I liked, and again, working for Dante Tomaselli was a wonderful experience.
And thank you for mentioning the legend about the Jersey Devil, because I knew about a video game of the Jersey Devil. So but I didn't know it that it was like a urban legend. So it's great to learn. John, ¿tienes más preguntas?
Por supuesto. Hay una, bueno, esta no es de terror. Esto es algo que es romance, amor y odio. Una película muy clásica. Mira, hay una actriz que la verdad es bastante talentosa, lástima que ya se nos haya ido desde hace tiempo, Mirna Loy. Pero esta historia es bonita porque trata sobre lo que es el tema de cómo enamorarse. Quisiera preguntarle sobre cómo fue trabajar con Mirna Loy y también preguntarle sobre la experiencia de este proyecto. ¿Qué recuerda de ello?
Ron, not everything has to be terror. Now we're going to talk about love and what memories do you got acting, and just tell me what you want.
Just tell me what you want. Oh, gosh, thank you for remembering that film. No one has ever asked me that question.
And it's crazy. In fact, John wants to know more how was, and of course, for a better, a beautiful memoir of working with Mirna Loy.
Yeah, it was the first movie I ever did. It was a very small part. And I met Sidney Lumet, great Hollywood director. And I had a scene with Ali MacGraw. You're probably too young to know who she was, but she made a movie called Love Story with Ryan O'Neal many, many years ago. And
Yes.
that was my very first part. And then a few months later, I did Friday the 13th, 1979, exactly.
And yes, I remember Love the Story because it's one of the favorite movies of my mother. And he, even in Colombia, was huge. It was huge all around the world. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So,
Really.
This is emanating from Colombia.
Yes, we are in Colombia. We are in a city called Cúcuta. It's at the north of Colombia, in the
Oh,
border with Venezuela. Not in Bogota, no, in Cúcuta. Very, very sunny.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for asking about Just Tell Me What You Want.
I will thank John. John, gracias por preguntar por esa película.
Con gusto. Además, bueno, aparte de que tú me digas si tienes otra, También tengo una en particular que es adaptada a una novela. Y es una novela que la verdad pues súper interesante, no me la he visto muy completa, pero sí he visto resúmenes, parte, críticas, que se llama Gran Isla. Quisiera preguntarle sobre si de pronto alguna vez leíste el libro y si de pronto hay de pronto que te gustó de tu personaje.
For the preparation of your character in Grand Isle, I hope I pronounce it right. Did you read the novel of Kate Chopin, The Awakening, or how was working in this project?
Okay, Grand Isle. That was probably the most prestigious movie I've ever done in my career, what if you call it a career. And that was a wonderful experience. I was down in New Orleans. I had my own trailer, and I had a scene with Ellen Burstyn and Kelly McGillis and Glenn Headley was my wife, and I had a great part. It was a period picture from the 1870s. It was a $9 million budget, and it was a beautiful film. However, the director and the producer Kelly McGillis made it too long, much too long. It was over 3 hours, and so they cut a lot of it out, and a lot of my part was cut out. You could still see me in the film, and I got good billing. But I was telling everybody in my hometown that, my family and friends, I'm going to be on TNT tonight, Turner Classic, TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and I'm watching it. I said, "Where's my scene with Ellen Burstyn?" And it was cut out of the film. That happens to every actor, just about every actor. We've been cut out of a lot of films. I was still in it. A couple of scenes when you saw me with Kelly McGillis and with Ellen Burstyn, and then dancing with Kelly. But the experience itself was truly wonderful because it was the best paid job I ever had, and it was also a vacation.
Bueno, desde mi perspectiva, gracias por decir de Granas, que fue tu mejor película, pero yo pensé que era Las dos hermanas, porque créame que haciendo usted del tío es bastante pues complejo, porque ya sale con muy, como dice, es un personaje monótono, pero que no da a uno como que rabia ni nada, sino más bien impresión. ¿Qué fue lo que aprendiste de ese personaje en esa historia? Es bastante loca.
I was telling John that you tell that Grand Isle was the most prestigious project, and John was, oh, I thought it was the two sisters. So because he really loved your character of the uncle, so tell us, yes, more about doing this character, this particular character in this movie, Two Sisters.
Oh well, that was just a little student film. This lovely young lady, Terry Dawn, she contacted me and asked me if I'd like it. She flew me out to California, and I played the uncle of the two young girls, and it was a nice experience. She's a nice young lady, but it wasn't really on the level of Grand Isle or Friday the 13th or Just Tell Me What You Want. It was, it's just a student film, and we had fun with that. But like I said, it was just not in the category of the big movies that I've appeared in. Friday the 13th probably being the most famous. It was on the same level, but it was quite well done.
John is telling me that he's surprised because yes, he's telling me, but that movie is so well done. I was telling, it's an student's film. Like, what?
What?
It's a very, it's a very well made student's film. Wow. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yes, you know what? I'm going to email Terry Dawn. She keeps in touch with me, and tell her that ask her if she could listen, she could watch this interview because she'll be thrilled with that.
I will translate that for John. John le va a mandar la entrevista a la directora, que él está
Wow.
sorprendido.
Thank
de
you.
que-
Oh, man, eso es increíble.
Wow.
El cine. Esta también otra que más bien es sobre un estilo del fin de semana, un domingo, Nightmare. Le quiero preguntar cómo manejar ese ambiente que transmitió esa película.
Yeah, there is a feel good movie in your career called Neighbor. How was doing this style of film more, yeah, like more having a good time, Not everything has to be so dark. Neither.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
thank you. Gosh, you really know my film history. Thank you so much. I'm very flattered. Um, Again, that was sort of like not on the level of Friday the 13th or Torture Chamber or Grand Isle. Again, it was a small movie, and I had a good part in that one. I had I played a, it was an interesting part of the mayor of a town who was really involved with the mafia, and so that was a wonderful part. And yeah, I'm very impressed that you know all these films that I did. That's incredible.
it's our job, but it's also a pleasure to do it because this project is from a small city. And having this opportunity to talk to people like you, like Ari, is an opportunity of a lifetime. In fact, we don't got universities that teach cinema in this city. So when John told me that Ron is going to be here, we had to do the homework. No, man, it's an honor.
Now, I have a question. I'm highly flattered. Thank you so much. Are you Jhon or is the other guy John? Who's
No,
John?
no,
The other guy.
John is the other guy. I'm Andres.
You're
He's the
okay.
translator.
You're
And you can tell me the other guy, don't worry. I won't feel bad because I love what I do of translating, but also I love cinema. This is
Yes.
a labor of love.
Yeah. Are you coming from Bogota? Emanating from Bogota?
No, Cúcuta. Cúcuta is
Oh,
a
okay.
city at the north of Colombia, in the border with Venezuela.
Yes. Beautiful country, Colombia. Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't know if you know about the conventions. Friday the 13th was huge here in Colombia in all the conventions, the horror conventions. It's like the States. We love that movie, but we don't want to ask you only about that movie. That's why we ask you about other projects.
That would be wonderful. If I'd love to come to Colombia. We haven't done too many conventions in South America. We did Germany a couple of years ago, and then we did London last year. And there were a lot of fans for horror and that genre. But we're yet to come to Colombia. I don't know why, but I recently met a film director from Argentina. I know there's a big difference, and I'm going to be in his new film called Dark Tales.
What
So
director?
yeah,
What director? What is the name of the director? Maybe we have interviewed. What is the name of the director?
the director is Enzio Massa. That's
What
spelled.
the hey?
Ah,
You know him?
John Bacanopoli. Yes, we love Argentinian horror. It's a
Yeah.
whole, it's another world.
Ezio Asa. What the heck?
Wow, Argentina is killing it.
Yes.
Wow, wow, that's great news. That's great. Yes, Enchu is amazing.
Yeah.
Look the face of John. Look the face of John. Enchu is
Tenemos
amazing.
que tener además acá.
And in fact, when we got Encio Massa, because John know a lot of directors Argentina, we will talk about you. It will be an honor. Wow, John, tienes que tener a Encio.
Por favor, prometido. Y le envío la foto después de eso. Bueno, por último, quisiera hablar sobre The Vanguard. Cuéntame cómo fue esta historia, si te pareció perfecta o no, porque habla sobre la perfección. Y ya, terminamos.
Final question. It's about the Bone Garden. This movie talks about perfection. Do you think that this movie is perfect? What are your thoughts about the Bone Garden?
The Bone Garden is really one of my favorites. Absolutely. It was, he gave me a choice of what part I wanted to play. And I said, I want to play the policeman again. And the director, he said, well, you played so many policemen. I don't care. I don't care if I played a lot of policemen. That's what I do well. And this was a good part. This was a really good part. And I had a chance to do some real acting. And I was in maybe 7 or 8 scenes. So that was fun and one of my favorite parts. It really is. If you can watch it, or I don't know if you got it. Did you see it at all? Did you see that movie, The Bone Garden?
John, ¿la viste?
Yes, claro.
¿Qué
Yes,
opinas?
it's cool.
Yeah.
Dice que su favorita es perfecta.
And I
It's
worked
cool.
with Tracy, who was in Friday the 13th 3. she was the star of the movie, and she was a murderess. She was a serial killer, and I was the investigator. And yeah, it's one of my favorite parts. So I'm glad you brought that up. And nobody talks about the Bone Garden either. No one, somehow it's really well done.
John, antes de terminar, recuérdame quién más estuvo de Viernes 13 en el canal. CJ, Ari, Ron, ¿y quién más?
No más, creo
No,
que
el descartado.
Ron Slow.
Yes, before, ya que diga Regito,
Sí, claro.
Ron, the camera is yours. I will tell you, we are happy. You are the fourth member of the Friday the 13th saga that had been on the channel. Ari, CJ Graham, Ron Sloan. For us, it's an honor. The camera is yours. Tell your social media so people can follow you. Send a big hi to Colombia, to wherever you want. If there is a project that we need to know, say it. The camera is yours. For us, it's a big thank you.
Thank you. It was a wonderful experience talking with you. You and Jhon, thank you so much. Mucho gracias. Gracias mucho. Adios.
No, we are going to take a picture and bye-bye. No, we cannot let you go without taking a picture.
Okay, I'm here.
One, two.
Dígale lo que quieras.
Ron, muchas gracias por la oportunidad. Gracias a Kevin también por el proceso, por el enlace.
You're welcome.
Muchas
You're welcome
gracias.
forever.
You're welcome.
Muchas gracias. Thank you for.
Bye bye, chao.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thank you.
Adiós,
Bye, bye.
adiós.
Bye bye.
Bye.